Hi there, it's Anthony, and I'm about to watch another episode of Dexter. So this is season 2, episode 6, and the title is Dex, Lies, and Videotape. So obviously that's a reference to the movie Sex, Lies, and Videotape. So I'm wondering if like Dexter is gonna be, maybe he'll meet somebody that like records serial killers talking about killing and their thoughts on it. I don't know. Or maybe Dexter will be recording people. Obviously, last episode was crazy. We found out a lot more about things that we did not know. Like a lot of things from season 1 just got a new light shed on them in a way. So I'm looking forward to find out what we're going to learn next, man. This show is not slowing down. So let's go ahead and get into it. Dexter season 2, episode 6, Dex, Lies, and Videotape. Alright, so I thought that this was a good episode. I would honestly probably say I thought this was the weakest episode of the season so far. And that doesn't mean that it's bad by any means. I just think that I guess you could consider this like baseline Dexter. You know what I mean? Like, this was still a good episode, but it's like the show has shown us so much more that it can do. So it's like just compared to the rest of this season, this episode just felt like slightly underwhelming compared to everything else. But that's not to say that it was a bad episode at all. I think this episode was more of a kind of, it was just completely focused and driven by just plot. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't as invested in sort of the underlying emotional beats of everything that was happening and kind of the story and thematic things that have been going on in a lot of the other episodes this season thus far. Not to say that type of stuff wasn't there in this episode too, but it mainly just felt like, it was there to kind of progress the plot and whatnot, and push us forward in some ways, which is still very handy and very good, very necessary and whatnot. I do want to point out, like, I did catch, like, this whole idea of kind of loss of identity and whatnot, and Dexter really starting to doubt himself and everything. And then, of course, on the flip side, Deb, kind of always identifying with Dexter getting chosen over her. So she kind of doubted the relationship that she had with, what's his name, Lundy and everything. So, like, I did kind of catch that whole theme of loss of identity that they did there, which I thought was pretty interesting. And then everything that Dexter has associated with his normal life is starting to kind of crumble away. Because Rita, like you said, he was so used to Rita, but now she's broken up with him. And then what he thought about Harry and his code, now he's looking at that in a different light. So this episode did, portray that struggle and whatnot. So I'm not trying to say that it just didn't have any theme or any reason or anything, and like it was just plot. So I want to clarify that. And Dexter, as always, used his person at the end that he killed to, like, let his feelings out at, or let his thoughts out at. Because if we're not getting Dexter's thoughts through his, inner voice or whatnot that we can hear, then we're getting it through the conversations that he has with the people that he kills. So that's a pretty cool way of doing it. But yeah, so that was an interesting theme that this episode did explore, that sort of loss of identity. The main thing that did kind of bother me about this episode, though, was just the voicemail that Lila left. Like, first of all, that was just annoying. Like, why would she do that? Like, it's one of those things where I'm almost thinking, why would she do that, to the point of it not just being annoyance with the character, but annoyance with the writing. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, I guess you could argue that that's something that Lila would do, but like, it just seems like it's in her personality. But it also just feels like it's just the type of thing that's just so obviously shoehorned in there to be a catalyst for some type of drama. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels like she got on the voice machine and literally said every single wrong thing she could have said. It just feels like the writers were like, okay, we need to do something to really get drive a wedge between Rita and Dexter. And then they just decided to do that. And just, like, it just felt like a really easy way of doing that. And it just felt a little too convenient and too contrived, to me at least. And, if I might retract my statements somewhat about, the writing and whatnot, it feeling like kind of shoehorned in, if it turns out maybe that Lila was purposely doing that to sabotage Dexter and Rita. Because then maybe that would make sense, and I guess you could kind of say that was the reason for that happening. Because yeah, now it seems like Dexter and Lila are a thing, and or at least they're. I mean, Dexter went to her at the end of the episode, so I'm imagining that's indicating that he's moving on from Rita and going to Lila and whatnot. I'm sure Rita's still going to be around on the show, of course, but yeah, I do wonder. I couldn't help but wonder if Lila did that on purpose, just to just to purposely drive them apart, and she knew what she was doing. And I wonder if Dexter realizes that, what he would think. But I don't know if that's the case or not, or if it's just them trying to move the plot forward. So I guess we'll find out about that more as the show continues. Oh, and I guess the other thing that did kind of pull me out of the show, which I mentioned as I was watching it, was the part where Dexter deleted the file. But that part I understand. Like, I understand TV shows kind of take license with what might happen in reality if something were to happen, because and I get that, so I'm not really using this as like a fault or a complaint or anything. But yeah, when Dexter just deleted the file, I'm like, okay, they're gonna see that a file is missing out of that sequence of files because they have names and metadata within them. But even in the name of the file, I'm pretty sure they can just see the number would be missing because they are usually named in sequential order. And then all they had to do is get a file recovery software and just bring that file right back, because he just deleted it. It's not like he did a total deep erase of the drive, wiping over the ones and zeros and whatnot. But that'll be an easy file to recover. Because they haven't, it's not, I don't think it would have been overwritten yet by other data that they're writing onto the drive. That would be such an easy file to recover, and all they'd have to do is notice that it's missing. And then they would see Dexter there, and they know he had a reason to hide it. But, that's me just applying real world logic to a TV show, so I understand that. I'm not using that as a complaint, but yeah, I was like, dang, that wouldn't really work in real life. Him just deleting that file. In fact, he didn't even delete it from the trash. He just clicked delete. It's still in the recycle bin. I didn't even think about that. Like, dang, Dexter, you really didn't do anything. I'm just kidding. I know. In show world, he deleted it. It's deleted. I'm just applying real world logic to the show, which oftentimes there's no point in doing. I still enjoyed the episode, of course. I really love the show, and it's just like I said, even baseline Dexter is still really good. Still, it's super interesting. The developments we got in this episode were crazy. Rita breaking up with Dexter. It's like I've always talked about how much I love their relationship and how it feels like nothing's brought them apart yet. So it's like to really see something really kind of wedge them apart now. It's like, oh no. Oh my goodness. So yeah, man, that's sad right there in its own right. Now Dokes is back on Dexter's trail, it looks like, because he found out he might be lying about Narcotics Anonymous. And Dokes and Dexter really just seem to have a real adversarial relationship, if that's the right word. Like, they're enemies now. I thought, before, at the beginning of the series, Dokes was just kind of messing with Dexter. Might have slightly suspected him, but at the end of the day, he's like, this is just a coworker. But no, they're really enemies now, it seems. Dokes is really out for Dexter, aggressively. I thought that, what's his name, Lundy was really cool in this episode. I loved how it was just this constant tension of, does he know? What does he know? And they kind of foreshadowed all the reasoning for it. Cause it was like they were playing a trick on both the audience and Deb. It felt like they were kind of making it so that the audience were looking at it and Dexter, they kind of placed us in the same shoes as Dexter, because Dexter is sort of the audience surrogate for this show. We're looking at it okay, is he talking to Dexter because he suspects Dexter? Is that why? Does he have a reason that he's looking in Dexter so closely? Did he see some footage, or So we're constantly kind of nervous about that, and so is Dexter at the point where he finds out that they've been recording him. And then Deb is just thinking, it's, Dexter's the golden boy. He really wants Dexter more than me because that's how it's always been my whole life and whatnot, which was an interesting thing to bring up, because we've seen how Harry has had such a close relationship with Dexter, and Deb, like she said, barely got any alone time with him. And so once again, this is happening where it seems like somebody else is paying more attention to Dexter. And funny enough, both times it's because, it's not, this time it's not, but it would seem to us as the audience for a second like he might have been suspicious of Dexter because he was a serial killer, and that's also why Dexter was with Harry. So we're like, oh my goodness, we both us as the audience and Dev have our reasons for thinking that he's talking to Dexter, but then it just turns out that it's because of Masuka, which I thought was hilarious. And they kind of foreshadowed that, when she was like, "Don't you have Masuka?" And he was like, "Oh, yeah." And it's like at that point you're like, okay, it is, I guess, when you really think about it, it's pretty obvious that that would be the reason why. But it kind of shows how much this show is able to put us in the shoes of these characters, that we would kind of think that irrationally and really feel like, oh my goodness, he's suspicious of Dexter. When, yeah, just thinking logically, look at Masuka. Who wouldn't be annoyed with him? It's kind of like this show brings out our own insecurities, like, you know what I mean? Not our own insecurities, but it puts us in Dexter's insecurities and really makes us kind of feel the same way he feels. Because I don't know, I really was definitely worried, like, does Lundy know? Like, it really, you couldn't help but be paranoid about it. So I think that's really cool how they pulled that off. And Masuka is such a trip. Like, I can't blame him for being annoyed by him. Like, Masuka's a character. Oh, and after the last episode ended showing the video camera recording him, the security camera, I should have automatically put it together that that's what this title was going to be referring to, Dex Lies and Videotape. Like, that it would be referring to the fact that he was on videotape and he's been lying and he's Dexter. I should have just immediately put that together, like, oh yeah, so this is going to be about, Dexter dealing with that video footage. But anyway, still cool title, cool reference and whatnot. Yeah, overall, I thought that this episode was good. Like I said, maybe my least ranked of the season so far. I will rank it the least, but that still means it's like great. Like, I mean, that's still really good. Like, I think that Dexter is an amazing show, and this season has been knocking it out of the park so far. And I just can't wait to see what's going to happen next. So go ahead, comment down below. Let me know what you thought about this episode. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's only a review, but the full reactions are on Patreon. So you can go ahead and sign up for the $2 tier there if you're interested in seeing the full reactions to Dexter. So thank you very much for watching, and have a great one.